What drives someone to cold-bloodedly kill another person? What goes through your mind when you decide to cut someone out of your life? And what kind of feud could spark a motive so dark as to plot a murder? What if the people you trusted most turned out to be your worst enemies? On the summer night of July 6, 2012, 16-year-old Skylar Neese slipped out of her West Virginia home, anticipating a secret adventure with her two best friends. But she never returned. To the world, her disappearance seemed like a runaway, an impulsive act of teenage rebellion. Skylar's family and friends voiced their concerns, wishing for her safe return through social media posts and by plastering her missing person posters around town. But who would have thought that two of the people in that very group, the ones pleading for her return, were the ones responsible for her death?
Would you guys rather suffocate or get shot?
I have an issue with a 16-year-old daughter of mine. I can't control her anymore. She's screaming. She's running through the neighborhood. Give me the phone. No, this is over. This is over. Hurry up.
Skylar Annette Neese was a vibrant and ambitious 16-year-old girl from Star City, West Virginia. Born on February 10, 1996, to Dave and Mary Neese, she was their only child and the light of their lives. Known for her bubbly personality, sharp intellect, and infectious warmth, Skylar was a straight-A student at University High School. She excelled academically and dreamed of one day becoming a criminal defense lawyer. Skylar worked part-time at Wendy's, where her cheerful demeanor and strong work ethic made her beloved by co-workers. To her parents, she was the perfect daughter, someone who balanced her responsibilities with a playful spirit. Like many teenagers, she adored social media, regularly sharing glimpses of her life, posting pictures with friends, and expressing her thoughts. Skylar had a close-knit group of friends, including Shelia Eddy and Rachel Shoaf. The three were inseparable, spending countless weekends together, sharing secrets, and creating memories that seemed destined to last forever. Skylar and Shelia had been best friends since they met at the age of 8. The Neese family embraced Shelia as one of their own, treating her like a second daughter. In September 2010, Skylar befriended Rachel, and soon the trio formed an unbreakable bond, or so it seemed. As time went on, however, cracks began to form in their friendship. Skylar noticed Shelia and Rachel growing closer, often leaving her out. The subtle shifts in their dynamic left Skylar feeling increasingly isolated. Despite this, she held on to hope, believing the years of trust and shared memories would ultimately hold them together. During their freshman year at University High School, the first school all three attended together, Skylar and Shelia met Rachel Shoaf, a Catholic middle school graduate with an older half-brother. While Shelia thrived on her unsupervised freedom, Rachel, also the child of divorced parents, came from a strictly religious household. That fall, the trio formed a close friendship, with Skylar and Rachel subtly vying for Shelia's attention. Shelia enjoyed being the center of their dynamic. Each girl had a unique appeal, as if plucked from a CW network casting call. Rachel, with her striking red hair, tall stature, and religious nature, was also a star in the school plays. Skylar, the brunette, exuded cherubic charm, spirited energy, and fierce loyalty. Shelia, sometimes bottle blonde, other times raven-haired, was fearless, magnetic, and overtly confident, a small-town beauty queen in the making, with a bold personality to match. Though they lived in different suburbs of Morgantown, the girls were inseparable in the digital realm, spending countless hours posting, texting, tweeting, and retweeting. Their conversations often unfolded in 140 characters, punctuated by emoticons and emojis. Their selfies painted the picture of a carefree and tight-knit bond, posing like models, pulling funny faces, and being physically affectionate. But by the spring of 2012, cracks in their friendship began to show. Skylar's tweets hinted at feelings of exclusion and frustration. "Too bad my friends are having lives without me." In another tweet, her bitterness became clearer. A girl, a girl, a During their sophomore year, classmates at University High School began noticing the growing tension between Shelia Eddy and Skylar Neese. The two, once inseparable, were frequently at odds, their fights becoming more evident to those around them. Skylar had always been vocal about her dissatisfaction with Shelia and Rachel Shoaf's deepening friendship, which increasingly excluded her. She often expressed her frustrations on social media, making no effort to hide her feelings. To her dismay, Shelia and Rachel continued to spend time together, forming a bond that left Skylar feeling abandoned and hurt. On May 31, 2012, Skylar vented her anger in a pointed tweet. "You're a two-faced bitch, and obviously stupid if you thought I wouldn't find out." Months later, on the morning of July 5, 2012, Skylar was moping around her family's apartment. She was frustrated and bored. Her friends, who had gone off together without her, left her feeling betrayed and excluded once again. At 9 a.m., she tweeted her irritation, "Sick of being at f***ing home. Thanks, friends. Love hanging out with you all too." In the spring of 2012, during a science class at University High School, Rachel Shoaf and Shelia Eddy began joking about killing their best friend, Skylar Neese. What started as a casual remark, "We should kill her," soon turned into something far more sinister. Sharing a look of agreement, they decided to turn the joke into reality. Over the next month, the pair carefully plotted their plan, determined to carry it out before Rachel left for summer camp. On the night of the planned murder, Rachel took a shovel from her father's house, while Shelia grabbed 2 knives from her mother's kitchen. Together they packed their tools into the trunk of Shelia's car: knives, a shovel, cleaning supplies, and a change of clothes. They dressed in hoodies despite the summer heat to hide the knives, wrapping them in rags so they wouldn't cut themselves. Once they got to Skylar's, they took the knives out of the clothes and put them back under their hoodies in the armpit area to have them ready. They soon later called Skylar. On the evening of July 5, 2012, Skylar Neese had spent the day working her night shift at Wendy's before returning home to relax. That evening, Skylar returned home around 10 p.m. Her parents, Dave and Mary Neese, were already in for the night. Skylar spent the rest of the evening in her room, scrolling through social media and chatting with friends. Around midnight, Skylar received a call from Shelia and Rachel. They convinced her to sneak out for a late-night drive to get high, something they had done before. Excited at the chance to reconnect with her best friends, Skylar agreed, At 12:30 a.m., she quietly climbed out of her bedroom window, leaving a small bench beneath it to help her return unnoticed, believing she'd be home before her parents woke up. A surveillance camera from a nearby apartment complex captured Skylar getting into Shelia's car. Rachel was waiting in the back seat. The three girls drove off into the night, leaving behind what would be her final moments in the safety of her home. The three girls drove out of town, heading toward a remote area in Pennsylvania, a place they had visited before. To Skylar, this likely seemed like just another late-night adventure, filled with laughter and conversation. The atmosphere in the car appeared normal. Shelia and Rachel kept the mood light, chatting and reminiscing to put Skylar at ease. The drive stretched into the early hours of July 6, 2012, taking them far away from the safety of familiar surroundings. At 10:48 a.m. on July 6th, mere hours before her murder, Skylar tweeted, "You doing shit like that is why I will never completely trust you." If only she had trusted her instincts. When they arrived at the remote location, the girls suggested going for a walk in the woods. Skylar followed without hesitation, trusting her friends completely. Once there, Shelia and Rachel pretended they had forgotten a lighter and asked Skylar to fetch one from the car. As Skylar turned her back, Shelia and Rachel exchanged a glance. They counted to 3, a signal they had agreed upon, and launched their attack. Skylar fought back fiercely, clawing at her attackers and attempting to escape. She managed to get away momentarily, but was soon overpowered when one of them stabbed her in the knee, preventing her from running further. Her fate was sealed. Skylar collapsed, unable to move, as her so-called friends stabbed her multiple times, mercilessly ending her life. In her dying breaths, Skylar's last words were a heart-wrenching "why?" Once Skylar was dead, the girls dragged her body deeper into the woods. They covered her with branches and leaves, leaving her in a makeshift grave. Then, as if nothing had happened, they changed into clean clothes, disposed of the evidence, and drove back home. As dawn broke over Star City, West Virginia, Dave and Mary Neese woke to find their daughter's bed empty. At first, they thought she might have left early for an errand or work, but their growing unease quickly turned into panic. Skylar's cell phone charger, toothbrush, and other essentials were still in her room, items she would never leave behind. It was clear to them that their daughter hadn't run away. By noon, convinced that something was wrong, the Neeses reported their daughter missing. Later that day, Shelia Eddy called Skylar's parents, offering what seemed like an explanation. She told Mary Neese that she and Rachel Shoaf had picked Skylar up around 11 p.m. on July 5, 2012, to drive around and get high, a regular outing for the trio. According to Shelia, they had dropped Skylar off at the end of the road near her apartment building just before midnight so she could sneak back inside unnoticed. On July 7, 2012, Shelia Eddy and her mother joined Skylar's parents to canvass the neighborhood, handing out missing person flyers and searching for any sign of the girl. Rachel Shoaf, however, had already left for Catholic summer camp, leaving Shelia Eddy to maintain the facade on her own. Shelia went door to door with the distraught Neese family, handing out flyers and expressing concern for her missing best friend. Behind her fake sympathy was a terrifying truth. She knew exactly where Skylar was, buried under a pile of leaves and branches in Pennsylvania, killed by the very hands she now used to distribute the flyers. Shelia Eddy and Rachel Shoaf, the last people known to see Skylar Neese alive, played their roles to perfection in the days following her disappearance. They appeared distraught, expressing concern for their missing friend. When questioned by police, they gave matching accounts of that night, claiming they had picked Skylar up for a drive and dropped her off near her apartment before midnight. But something didn't sit right. Over time, inconsistencies in their stories began to emerge. Investigators grew increasingly suspicious that the two girls were withholding the truth. Skylar's father, Dave Neese, oblivious to the horrifying truth, believed in the girls' innocence. He even went to the police and begged them to stop pressuring Shelia and Rachel, convinced they were mourning Skylar's disappearance just as much as he and his wife were. "They're missing their best friend too," he told officers. Little did he know, they were the reason his daughter was no longer with him. When surveillance footage surfaced, showing Skylar getting into a car at 12:30 a.m. on the night of her disappearance, the police realized Shelia and Rachel had lied about key details. This discovery marked the beginning of their downfall. As the investigation intensified, pressure mounted on Shelia and Rachel. Their fabricated story began to crumble under the weight of police scrutiny, relentless phantom posters plastered around town, and rumors at school. Unable to cope, both girls opted for homeschooling by winter break. On December 28, 2012, Monongalia County 911 received a frantic call from Patricia Shoaf. In the background, Rachel could be heard wailing incoherently.
I have an issue with a 16-year-old daughter of mine. I can't control her anymore. She's screaming. She's running through the neighborhood. Give me the phone. No, this is over. This is over. Hurry up. No, she just gave me a block. Oh, God. Hurry up, please.
The pressure had become unbearable for Rachel. A few days later, on January 3, 2013, she finally broke down and confessed to investigators. With chilling calmness, she admitted, "We stabbed Skylar to death." When asked why, Rachel offered a cold and detached response. "We didn't like her." Rachel recounted the harrowing details of the murder. Skylar had been stabbed repeatedly, at least 10 times. Rachel described how Skylar fought back fiercely but ultimately succumbed to the attack. Rachel admitted that her neck made weird sounds and they continued stabbing until those noises stopped. Following her confession, Rachel led authorities to the murder site in a remote area near Brave, Pennsylvania. Initially, deep snow prevented her from pinpointing the exact location. It wasn't until January 16, 2013, a day bright with sunlight that melted the snow, that investigators returned to the area. About 40 feet from the side of the road, they found human remains buried under branches and debris, along with a cell phone discarded in the grass. Due to exposure to the elements, Skylar's body had significantly decomposed, and her skull was no longer attached to the rest of her remains. While Rachel had confessed, Shelia Eddy continued to maintain her innocence. Investigators attempted to obtain an incriminating statement from her, even going so far as to have Rachel wear a wire during a conversation. But Shelia never slipped up. On March 13, 2013, authorities publicly confirmed that the remains found in Pennsylvania were those of Skylar Neese. Shelia took to Twitter, posting insincere tributes to her victim. Shelia, believing she had evaded justice, carried on with her life. She spent her days tweeting, watching Law & Order, SVU, attending prom, and maintaining a friendship with someone who had also been close to Skylar. She had told her version of events so often and so convincingly that she seemed to have convinced herself she had gotten away with murder. But justice was closing in. As authorities built their case, they struck a deal with Rachel Shoaf. In exchange for her cooperation and testimony against Shelia, Rachel agreed to plead guilty to second-degree murder. Still under investigation, Rachel was even allowed to take a vacation with her mother in April. Shelia, however, remained unrepentant. On May 1st, 2013, she was arrested in the parking lot of a restaurant. Her lack of remorse was striking. Even during her arrest, she asked officers for a hair tie and complained that people might see her in the back of the squad car. One officer bluntly replied, "Yes, Shelia, they can see you. You've been charged with first-degree murder." A search warrant of Shelia's home revealed damning evidence. Investigators confiscated her computer, phone, and tablet, as well as knives from the kitchen and a Toyota Camry. An FBI analysis of the car found Skylar Neese's blood in the trunk, confirming her brutal end. Authorities determined that Skylar had suffered over 50 stab wounds during the attack, a shocking testament to the savagery of the crime. Both Rachel Shoaf and Shelia Eddy were charged as adults for their roles in the brutal murder of Skylar Neese. Shelia, showing no remorse, pleaded guilty to first-degree murder. Rachel, who had cooperated with authorities by confessing and leading them to Skylar's remains, pleaded guilty to second-degree murder, a lesser charge due to her willingness to assist investigators. Despite their different charges, it was revealed that both girls had spent nearly a year meticulously planning Skylar's murder. On January 24, 2014, 18 months after Skylar's death, Shelia Eddy was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 15 years. The following month, Rachel Shoaf was sentenced to 30 years in prison. During her plea hearing, Rachel offered a tearful apology to Skylar's parents, the only one of the two to do so. Shelia remained silent, her lack of remorse underscoring the coldness of her actions. Were Rachel Shoaf and Shelia Eddy in a romantic relationship? Speculation about the nature of Rachel and Shelia's relationship was confirmed years later. At her first parole hearing in 2023, Rachel admitted that she and Shelia had been romantically involved at the time of the murder. She claimed their fear that Skylar would expose their secret was a key motive for the crime. During the 2023 parole hearing, Rachel Shoaf presented herself as a changed woman. She detailed her accomplishments behind bars, including earning a bachelor's degree, obtaining a cosmetology license, leading an inmate prayer group, and participating in a prison drama club. She expressed her belief that she could become a productive member of society if released. Despite her efforts, the parole board denied Shoaf's early release. They cited a recent disciplinary violation and her failure to present an appropriate home plan as major factors in their decision. After deliberating for roughly 10 minutes, the board concluded she was not ready to re-enter society. Rachel Shoaf will be eligible for another parole hearing in June 2025. Both Rachel Shoaf and Shelia Eddy remain behind bars at the Lakin Correctional Center in Mason County, West Virginia. The prison, nicknamed Camp Cupcake, due to its amenities that allows some inmates access to music, personal game systems, and tablets for entertainment. The shocking betrayal and murder of Skylar Neese continue to haunt those left behind, with her family and community struggling to comprehend how two friends could commit such a heinous act. In the wake of their unimaginable loss, the Neese family turned their grief into advocacy by helping to pass Skylar's Law. This legislation mandates that Amber Alerts be issued for all missing children in West Virginia, regardless of whether they are believed to have been abducted. Although that may not have saved Skylar's life because she was killed before her parents realized she was missing, this law stands as a legacy to her memory. By ensuring timely alerts, Skylar's Law has the potential to save countless lives and bring hope to families facing similar tragedies.